You wake up late. You run to the sink, splash water on your face, and grab the blue bottle. One cap, 10 seconds. Mint, cold, clean, and suddenly you feel ready to face the world. But here is the strange truth. Mouthwash was never only about a clean mouth. Very often, it sold something more powerful. It sold the feeling that you are safe to stand close to other people. In this video, I will show you the secret history of mouthwash. It begins with old home methods, strange smells, and simple daily life. Then it turns into something bigger, a story about shame, fear, romance, work, and modern confidence. Because this little bottle did not become famous just by killing germs. It became famous by touching a human weakness, the fear of being judged. And once you see that, you will never look at mouthwash the same way again. So how did a quick minty rinse become a social weapon? Chapter 1. Origin. Long before mouthwash sat in bright plastic bottles, people still worried about their breath. Of course they did. Human beings have always lived close together. Families ate together. Workers stood shoulder to shoulder. Lovers whispered in small rooms. Smell mattered. In the ancient world, people tried many ways to freshen the mouth. Some chewed herbs, some used spices, some rinsed with wine, vinegar, salt water, or plant mixtures. These methods did not come from modern science. They came from simple observation. If something smelled strong and fresh, maybe it could cover another smell. Imagine a busy street centuries ago. A merchant is speaking to customers all day under the hot sun. He has eaten garlic, onion, and heavy food. Before talking to a rich buyer, he takes a small leaf, crushes it, and chews slowly. Not because he wants perfect health, because he wants the sale. That is our first mini-story. An older man, standing in dust and noise, trying to make his mouth smell better with herbs before speaking face to face. Fresh breath was already linked to trust, already linked to social success. That is the part many people miss. Mouth care was never only private, it was public, and that changes everything. Now pause for a second. Fresh breath sounds small, almost silly. But when something affects love, work, and dignity, is it still small? For many centuries, freshening the mouth stayed simple. Homemade, local, cheap. No giant brands, no famous labels, no dramatic promises. Just people trying not to smell bad. But then industry arrived. Factories grew. Cities became crowded. Advertising became powerful. And an old human fear found a new business model. Chapter 2. The Rise. Now the story becomes sharper. In the modern age, companies started packaging old ideas in a new form. A rinse could be bottled, branded, and sold. At first, mouthwash was often presented as medical, clean, scientific, useful, something almost clinical. But that version alone was not enough to create a huge market. People do not buy in massive numbers just because a product is logical. They buy because a product speaks to emotion. And this is where everything changes. Listen carefully. The real breakthrough was not telling people, this cleans your mouth. The real breakthrough was telling people, without this, other people may reject you. That is much stronger. That hits the heart. That creates urgency. That creates repeat customers. Picture a woman in the early 20th century. She is dressed carefully for a meeting with a man she likes. Her hair is neat. Her clothes are pressed. Everything seems right. But an advertisement whispers a cruel idea into her mind. What if one hidden problem destroys everything? What if your breath speaks before you do? This was the genius of the campaign. It turned an invisible issue into a social disaster. Not blood, not pain, not disease you could easily see. Just the possibility of being quietly judged. That is far more frightening. Here comes our second mini-story. A young woman reads an ad in a magazine. The message is simple and brutal. People may avoid you not because you are boring, ugly, or poor, but because of your breath. Suddenly she feels uncertain. Suddenly she imagines failed dates, awkward talks, missed chances. So she buys the bottle, not for fun, not even mainly for hygiene, for protection. This was not just cleaning, this was emotional engineering, and it worked. Because once a product enters your self-image, it becomes powerful. A soap can wash your hands, a perfume can change your mood. But mouthwash promised something deeper. It promised social safety in 10 seconds. Who would not want that? As campaigns grew, bad breath was no longer presented as a minor inconvenience. It became a threat, a quiet enemy, a reason people might step back, turn away, or say no. And once a market teaches you to fear something, the solution becomes very easy to sell. Chapter 3. The Dark Turn. This is the darkest part of the story. Because advertising did not only sell a liquid, it sold insecurity. It taught people to doubt themselves in normal human moments, talking closely, laughing, leaning in, being near someone you love. A famous trick in marketing is simple. First create the problem in the mind, then offer the cure. Sometimes the problem is real, sometimes it is exaggerated, sometimes it is both. And bad breath became perfect for this. You cannot always measure it yourself. You cannot always know when it is happening. That uncertainty is gold for marketers. Think about it. If you can see dirt on your shirt, you wash the shirt. Problem solved. But if you cannot fully know how your breath smells to others, doubt stays alive. And doubt keeps the bottle moving off the shelf. Here is what made the campaign so powerful. It connected breath to shame. Not only you may smell bad, but you may be failing socially without knowing it. That message can enter the brain like a needle. A worker before an interview, a student before school, a bride before a wedding, a salesman before a handshake. Everyone suddenly has a reason to worry. And once fear spreads, habits form fast. Rinse in the morning, rinse before going out, rinse before a date, rinse before a meeting, rinse after coffee, rinse after lunch, rinse before life. A bottle on the sink became a shield against humiliation. That is why mouthwash history is not boring consumer history. It is social history. It shows how business can use embarrassment better than logic. But the dark turn goes even deeper. Some mouthwash ads did not merely say, "Be fresh." They suggested that without freshness, you might lose love, status, or respect. That is a heavy burden for one small product, and yet millions accepted it. Why? Because every person knows the pain of possible rejection. Nobody wants to be the person with bad breath. Nobody wants other people to notice first. So the product entered daily life through emotion, not just chemistry. That is the secret engine of its success. But history never stays still. Science keeps moving, culture change, and the world eventually starts asking harder questions. Was every promise true? Was every habit healthy? Was all this mint actually helping people, or just covering fear? Chapter 4. The world changes. Then the world changed. People became more informed. Dentistry improved. Scientific language became more common in everyday life. Consumers started reading labels, studying ingredients, and asking questions. Not all mouthwash was the same. Some products focused on killing bacteria, some focused on masking smell, some targeted gum health. Some were mostly about the feeling of freshness, and that difference matters. Because a cold mint blast can make you feel clean even when the deeper problem is still there. That is important. Feeling clean and being healthy are not always the same thing. A person can have fresh-smelling breath for an hour and still have a dental issue, dry mouth, or something related to food, smoking, or digestion. Now imagine a different daily scene. It is office time. A man has just finished strong coffee before a big presentation. He checks his reflection in a dark phone screen. His shirt is fine, his hair is fine, but he worries about one thing. He opens his desk drawer, takes out a travel-sized mouthwash, rinses quickly in the restroom, and walks back into the meeting with a new energy. This is our third mini-story. A modern person using mouthwash, not because life is in danger, but because confidence feels fragile. And that matters too, because confidence changes posture, confidence changes voice. Confidence changes the first 5 seconds when people look at you. Does the mouthwash solve everything? No. But in that moment, it gives him instant courage. And modern life loves instant solutions. Fast coffee, fast delivery, fast messages, fast confidence. So mouthwash fits perfectly into the rhythm of now. We no longer buy only products, we buy speed. But as culture changed, another idea also grew. People began to understand that the mouth is part of the whole body, not just a smell machine, a health system, a place where balance matters. Too much harsh treatment can be a problem. Ignoring the real cause can be a problem. Using a product without understanding it can be a problem. So the story became more complex. Mouthwash was not simply hero or villain. It was useful, sometimes overpromised, sometimes misunderstood, and that is a more honest history. Still, the old emotional power never fully disappeared. Because no matter how modern we become, one fear stays very old. What do other people sense when they come close? Chapter 5. Today's Surprise. Today, mouthwash lives in two worlds at the same time. The first world is practical. People use it after meals, before events, after smoking, before dates, after waking up, before recording videos, before social contact. It is portable, quick, easy. The second world is psychological. It is a ritual, a tiny reset button, a way to tell yourself, okay, I am ready now. That is today's surprise. For many users, mouthwash is not only a hygiene product, it is a performance product. It prepares the self for public life. Just like perfume, just like makeup, just like ironing a shirt, just like checking your reflection before entering a room. That is why the history still matters. Because the bottle on your sink carries an old message from the past. Be acceptable, be close, be chosen, be safe. And here is the final twist. The modern user often knows the game. People know advertising can exaggerate. People know mint is not magic. People know confidence in a bottle is partly illusion, and they still use it. Why? Because rituals matter, because symbols matter, because 10 seconds of freshness can still change how you walk into a room. Maybe that is the real product. Not cleanliness alone, not fear alone, but control. A small, affordable feeling of control in a world full of judgment. A minty rinse became social armor. So next time you see mouthwash in a store, look again. You are not just seeing colored liquid. You are seeing a century-long story about anxiety, desire, image, class, romance, and the dream of instant improvement. What other products around you are really selling emotion first and function second? That question is bigger than the bathroom. Ending. Mouthwash promised quick freshness. But its secret history is much deeper. It is the history of people wanting to belong, wanting to be welcome, wanting one less reason to be rejected. That is why this story lasts, because the fear behind it is still alive. And because the modern world still loves fast solutions to emotional problems. So the next time you rinse, ask yourself, are you cleaning your mouth? Or are you preparing your identity for other people? If this story surprised you, I want you to choose the next series. Option A, Everyday Bathroom Secrets. Option B, Everyday Beauty Secrets. Write A or B in the comments.